One Sunday morning in February, the young new pastor slowly made his way to the rural church in the middle of a blizzard, arriving with just 5 minutes to spare. He walked in, turned on the lights, and looked around. No one else was there. As he was about to turn everything off and go back home, an old farmer walked in, covered in snow. The pastor said, "Oh, hello, Joe. Looks like nobody else could make it. I guess we won't have a service today." The old farmer looked at him for a few seconds and said, "Well, Reverend, I know I am just an old farmer, but I can tell you this. If I take a load of hay out to the field to feed my cattle and only one cow shows up, I still feed it." The pastor, embarrassed, said, "Of course, you are right. I will go get ready." So the pastor started the service, and being inspired by the farmer's faith and dedication, preached fervently for a full hour. When the service was over, the pastor went over to the farmer and said, "So, Joe, I hope you enjoyed today's sermon." The old farmer looked at him, shook his head, and said, "Reverend, if I go out to feed the cattle and only one cow shows up, I still feed it, but I don't give it the whole fucking load." A pregnant woman unexpectedly falls into a coma while giving birth. The medical team works tirelessly to ensure safety and that of her unborn child. Months later, the woman finally awakens from her coma and realizes that her pregnancy belly is no longer there. She notices a doctor standing next to her bed, smiling warmly. "Hello," says the doctor. "You have been in a coma for 6 months, but don't worry. You are in good health, and we will be releasing you from the hospital soon." Feeling a wave of anxiety, she asks him, "Doctor, what happened to my baby?" "Don't worry," the doctor reassures her. "The birth went very smoothly, and your babies are alive and thriving." "Babies?" the woman exclaims. "What do you mean, babies?" The doctor explains. "You gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. They're both doing great." Overwhelmed with joy, the woman asks, "That's wonderful news. Where are they? Can I see them?" The doctor tells her, "Your brother has been taking care of them since they were born. He's been doing an excellent job." "My brother?" she says, concerned. "Oh no, he's such an idiot. What on earth did he name them?" The doctor tries to calm her down and says he named the girl Denise. The woman breathes a sigh of relief and replies, "That's actually a very pretty name. I can live with that. So what did he name the boy?" The doctor hesitates for a moment before responding, "Well, he named the boy D. Nephew." A mathematician, a statistician, and an accountant are in for a job interview. The interviewer calls in the mathematician first, the interview goes well, and for the last question, the interviewer asks, "What does 2 plus 2 equal?" The mathematician replies, 4. The interviewer says great, and then calls in the statistician, and after another good interview, he asks the same question. "What does 2 plus 2 equal?" The statistician says, "With such a small sample size, the answer is 4, give or take 0.3%, but on 9 times out of 10, the answer will be 4. Satisfied? The interviewer then calls in the accountant, and at the end of the interview poses the same question, "What does 2 plus 2 equal?" Very suddenly, the accountant gets up, locks the door, closes the shades, disconnects the phone, then approaches the interviewer and asks, "What do you want it to be?" A new school teacher, eager to get to know her students better, decided to have a little icebreaker activity on the first day of class. She asked each child to introduce themselves by stating their name and sharing what their father did for a living. The first little girl excitedly said, "My name is Kelly, and my daddy is a construction worker." The second child chimed in, "My name is Kylie, and my daddy works at a factory." One by one, the children shared their names and their father's professions, until it was a little boy's turn to speak up. "My name is David, and my dad is a stripper in a gay bar." The teacher gasped in shock, her eyes wide with disbelief, and quickly moved on to the next child, trying to change the subject as smoothly as possible. Later, during recess, the teacher approached David privately, wanting to clarify the surprising revelation. She asked him, gently but cautiously, if it was indeed true that his father danced naked in a gay bar. Dave, its cheeks flushed with embarrassment, and he replied, "No, my dad is actually a politician, but I'm just too embarrassed to tell anyone." An elderly preacher was nearing the end of his life. He sent a message to his banker and his lawyer, both of whom were members of his congregation, requesting they visit him at his home. Upon their arrival, they were shown up to his bedroom, where the preacher lay weak and frail. As they entered the room, the preacher reached out his hands, gesturing for them to sit on either side of his bed. Grasping their hands, the preacher sighed contentedly, smiled faintly, and stared at the ceiling. Silence filled the room as minutes passed by. Both the banker and the lawyer were deeply touched and flattered that the preacher would ask for their presence during his final moments. However, they couldn't help but feel puzzled, as the preacher had never shown any particular affection towards either of them. In fact, they both vividly remembered his numerous lengthy sermons about greed, covetousness, and selfishness that often left them feeling uneasy and guilty in their pews. At last, the lawyer, unable to his curiosity any longer, asked, "Preacher, why did you want us to be with you during your final moments?" With great effort, the old preacher gathered his remaining strength and weakly responded, "You see, Jesus died between two thieves, and that is precisely how I want to go." Subscribe to the channel. This is important. It will help me continue my work.